Fashion Insider friends, what is up? This is the Fashion Crimes podcast where I cover all things fashion, style, shopping, style inspiration, and interview incredible small business owners who are changing the fashion industry for the better. Yes, I'm the best friend you never knew you needed and the poster child for fashion over 40, and I mean way after 40. Say it with me, fashion and style are your friends, not your enemies. I'm Holly Cates, your favorite personal stylist, and let's keep it real, the only Holly you need to know. Turn it up, because I got a lot to say, and I am super stoked you're here. Hello, Fashion Insider besties. What is up? How you doing? What's going on? And what's the haps? My name is Holly Cates, your favorite personal stylist, and as always, the only Holly you need to know. Welcome to the Fashion Crimes podcast. I am so excited. I hope if you are a new listener that you have listened to our 100th episode, which was with the one, the only Miss Melissa Rivers. We had such an amazing time talking to her. If you haven't listened to that episode, please go back and listen to episode 100. That would be incredible. And I don't know how your day can get any better. If you have been a Fashion Insider bestie, do not hesitate to share with someone you love. Make sure that you pass on this information and have you and yourself and anybody else go to the Fashion Crimes Podcast website, drop your email into the pop-up box. You will get a free video, the biggest fashion mistakes that people make, because, guess what? Y'all need to hear it. Anyway, I'm so excited. We have a super BFD today. This person has a bio that is unlike any other. She has translated her personal and professional passions into pioneering sustainability in the fashion industry. She has become a fixture searching for forgotten textiles with documented stories to tell from a previous time. I mean, who does that? Her clothes have been on the likes of Misty Copeland, Erykah Badu, Rihanna, and so many more. She was just named the Fashion Group International Rising Star 2022 Diesel Sustainability Award. I'm telling you, we are so excited. Damn it. Welcome Mimi Prober to the show. Mimi, welcome.
Thank you so much, Holly, for having me. It's a pleasure to connect with you and to be a part of your awesome podcast. I'm so excited to talk and to share our story with your audience.
Oh, thank you so much, Mimi. I met you at the FGI Rising Star Awards. Tell us, I want you to give us all of your background, but tell me, how long have you been a fashion designer? Let's start there.
I actually graduated from FIT in 2012. So that's kind of where I developed my philosophy of integrating antique textiles to establish a sustainable future. So I guess I've been, doing this kind of for over 10 years. But as far as our brand and our business, we launched following along our philosophy into stores and ready-to-wear pieces and retail outlets starting in 2017. So I've been gradually growing my business through that time period, kind of developing my signature philosophy, connecting my passion for these heirloom antiques, art history, and the preservation of techniques that could have easily been lost and forgotten.
Now, did you grow up around fashion and clothes? Did you wear vintage clothes? Because I know myself, I started shopping in vintage and secondhand stores when I was 16. So that's how my love of vintage started. How did it start for you?
Absolutely. I mean, I've always kind of been going and kind of DIYing, recreating pieces since, I feel like 10 years old. But really my love of fashion in general, and also the appreciation of fashion as art and just vintage and just beautiful details and techniques was through my grandmother, who was a French Moroccan. She grew up having a seamstress that would make her beautiful clothing, and she shared that passion and that love for these beautiful textiles, and just, they don't make them like they used to. And we enjoyed so much time together shopping for those treasures and finds and sharing her stories about her pieces that she saved over the years. And that kind of, I think, really set the foundation for my love and appreciation of all of these antique textiles.
Now, did you grow up in a big family? Did you have brothers and sisters? Were you the black sheep, or is your whole family creative?
I'm actually the only child.
Oh, okay.
So I'm very close to, my family. My father was in the music industry. My mom was in jewelry or is in jewelry. So I grew up, I think, in that creative field, and they always supported me 1000% in my creative endeavors. I started out really with a fine arts background, and I love art history, and I have also a history of art minor. So all of those little dots kind of connected themselves into my work today.
Did you start out? I know you went to school, but you went to flea markets, estate sales, vintage sales, things like that. And then you just finally came around and said, hey, I can make this better. Is that what happened?
Not necessarily. So basically, we utilize antique textiles as well as creating custom textiles based on these antique techniques, kind of using them as the narrative to kind of think about preservation, really. First and foremost, is preserving kind of the artistry of the past. As I mentioned before, these are textiles that could have easily been forgotten. And my goal is to really preserve them and take them on to the next generation. So I've worked with museums. I always like to make this super clear that we don't use pieces that should be as themselves still like garments, in a museum. So we use pieces that maybe have value in the textile but are no longer serving their purpose as the specific garment. So I hand embroider, hand drape, and recreate these cherished antique textiles and give them a new life, and hopefully will be passed on for future generations to come.
When you say textiles, are you buying bolts of fabric? You're not buying vintage clothes and refiguring them, is what you're saying.
Yeah, we don't reconfigure vintage clothes necessarily. It's actually just like antique textile fragments. So small pieces of antique lace, I'll hand drape and hand embroider. That's how I started. And then we use those as inspiration. We work with a lot of like antique embroideries and just smaller fragments of textiles, antique coverlets, all of these different textiles that again are a textile but not a bolt of fabric.
I got you. Are they hard to find? Do you buy from other companies? Do you buy in bulk? How do you come about these treasures?
Exactly, they're treasures. So it's a process, and that's I love the connection to the people that you meet. Usually they're individuals that have inherited pieces that aren't really sure what to do with these pieces, that hopefully they don't want to just throw them away because they're really valuable and meaningful. So working with people directly, learning about their history. A lot of these textiles that we use do have like, a signature, a date, a story attached to that. So I try to share that as well. And really just, it's a continuous process. I'm always searching for that treasured, forgotten textile, whether it is, an estate or an auction or just stumbling upon you never know where you're going to find it. And I wish there was one place I could say this is where you get it, but that's
Yeah,
part
it's
of
all over. I'm sure. Do you travel to other countries first in search of things like that?
I have.
That's awesome. So, do you have a big design team, or do you sketch, or do you say, hey, I got X fabric, I'm thinking of this? Do you have to approve it, or do you just go for it and let it come out of your head? Take us through, when you get something, how it gets to the next phase in your mind.
Sure. So we're a very small team, and I definitely have a hand and a say in everything that we do. From searching from that textile to, I do still a lot of the hand draping, designing, and we work with our small atelier team to create these one of a kind pieces, as well as we work with artisans internationally and through our production partners to create our ready to wear collection, which is based on kind of the inspiration of these antique textile techniques, but we work directly with them to kind of revive and revigorate, and all of the artisans that are still doing these beautiful detailed work in a sustainable way. They're usually small families. My goal is to really support them and again preserve that for the future generations to come.
It's so detailed. So you get something and then you have to figure out how you're going to treat it, who's going to help you do it, and how to bring it to life. That's a lot to think about when you're trying to create one of a kind pieces. It's so incredible to me to see how different people interpret old textiles in different ways. And I mean, just looking when we saw you at your studio, I mean, my God, you're surrounded by lace and fabric and dye. And it's really cool to see what you're doing. Do you think you have a lot of competition? Are there other people doing what you do?
So it's interesting, as kind of that catchphrase of sustainability, has kind of taken hold. And in the industry, there's definitely been different brands and businesses that have popped up, with similar kind of like ethoses and ideas. I'm honored to have really been one of the founding in this last 10 years, kind of that kind of philosophy. But I like to think of it as a community. We really need this kind of thinking, as long as it's authentic and transparent. I think the conversation is so important. And I always say big change starts small. So I'm hoping that as the years progress, this will grow on multi levels.
The fashion industry has such a terrible, terrible rap about the waste in the factories and the mistreatment of employees, and you don't really know what's going on. Everything that you make, is it made in the United States?
I first started off making only locally, but then I found wonderful production partners internationally who are doing incredible work. We work directly with multi-generational family-run farms and mills that integrate sustainable practices, small scale, farm, local, and centralized regional sustainable fiber systems in the US, so locally in upstate New York and Missouri, as well as internationally, artisan fibers. So we work with really beautiful fine cashmere yak fine wool, which is actually sourced by Karnak nomads in the remote region of the Indian Himalayas. So really, it's a partnership to preserve these ancient textile techniques, the hand spinning, the knitting, the weaving, and to come together around the globe and support these individual artisans and families that really have the risk of being pushed out,
Right.
the larger production facilities that you're mentioning. And one of the most wonderful collaborations that we recently have and use on all of our pieces, as well as when we're not using antique lace, we work with a wonderful women's lace guild in India that her mother had originally started it, and they still do this beautiful handmade bobbin lace. So it's really a dying art. Nobody does handmade lace anymore. Not When we first connected with them, almost all of the lace makers were leaving for other professions. And we've been able, as our small scale, to really just make a difference and keep them working on this beautiful lace and keep their history alive. That is kind of my goal, is really creating meaningful pieces that go beyond just beautiful clothing. It's all of those hands of creation and working directly one-on-one with them to support them, as well as, bringing it forward.
You're like a great neighbor. I love that. It's women supporting women. I think that's sort of where you're really interested in supporting small people that are doing things that people on the mainstream might not notice. And I love that about you. I think it's so important to support you, female entrepreneurs, and other people who are trying to be in the fashion industry, but do something a little bit different to catch the attention of, hey, not everything you have to buy has to come from fast fashion or has to be such a quick turnaround. You can buy something like this beautiful knit sweater that you sent to me, which I'm going to do some styling videos on. And this is never going to go out of style. I mean, it never is. It looks like a fisherman's loose knit sweater, but I'm telling you, the tags which is what's killing me on your tags say, first of all, it's a beautiful tag, and it looks like handmade art inspired paper, like this thick
handmade botanical paper.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And it says textile narratives, preservation, process, honoring the heads that created the art. Who does that? I just think your tags are stunning. And on the back of the tag, and I'm going to take a picture of this and put this on in the show notes, it says collection, materials, source, color, and made in. And all of these details are filled out to the utmost degree. It's incredible how detailed every single thing that goes into, just say, this one particular sweater. I mean, that's like mad respect.
Well, thank you for appreciating it. Yes, so again, I don't want to create pieces that don't have a meaning. And my goal is to really create pieces that are seasonless and that people want to build upon in their wardrobe and will preserve and cherish for their next generation. And really, every aspect of what we do has true research and transparency in all of the ways that we create. Our brand is built on these four sustainability pillars, which is preservation, farm to fiber, ethical production, and community engagement. As a consumer, I don't think many people that aren't involved in the industry actually know that real people make your clothing, real people farm your textiles if they're natural fiber, and if they're not natural fibers, those people are uh, getting the chemicals that go into all of that. And I and on and on and on about that. But I just think it's really important for consumers to understand that there is a hand that goes into every piece of clothing, no matter what the price point is or where you get it from.
I always say, because when I work with clients, personal styling clients, you really get what you pay for. And a lot of people don't understand the value of why things cost what they cost. And for a designer like you, where you've got 12 things that you've done to this one piece of fabric or to this one weave or to this one lace, I can't imagine not making things in bulk and doing these huge orders. It's so slow. You have to be so patient.
It all really intimately involves, the hands of creation, but it's also my goal just to make sure that everybody from every aspect, whether it's the textile, again, we make our own custom textiles. If they're not antique textiles, we know where that came from. We're supporting and providing beyond living wages to all of these people. And, it might not be the most sustainable for our bottom line for our business, but I would not create clothing that is into the world, because I think there's so much in our world already, without supporting those individual people. And that's really our business model, which is like supporting not only the past, but like I said, reinvigorating the present by supporting these artisanal crafts and preserving it for the next generation.
What you're really doing is educating people on what they're wearing and saying, hey, if you buy this, it comes with a story, it comes with a process, it comes with a piece of you, literally.
Actually, our provenance cards, like you said, each tag is meant to be kept with a piece, and it tells the individual story of all of the details with the natural dye process, with how our textiles are made, who made them. And then we work with it's also an extension also of our zero waste philosophy. So this paper, if you notice, it has like little bits of the antique textiles kind of fragmented inside the paper. We work with a small woman-run business who creates these custom papers by hand using recycled cotton, and then she adds our small fragments of the antique textiles and antique embroidery thread clippings. So it's really a full circle philosophy, not only sharing that story, but like you said, every detail I do try to think out. And it's very, very important for us to share the story in that way that really showcases and honors the art and elevates the process of making beautiful clothing.
I've never seen anything like it. I mean, honestly, and I've seen a lot of clothes. I've talked to a lot of designers. I've been around fashion clothes my whole life. I've never seen anything like it. That's why I thought it was so important as we talk about Earth Day and sustainability and people that are trying to be ethical and trying their hardest to really slow the production process down. I mean, you've got to give props to these people who are really just like you, that are really trying to make a difference and say, hey, I'm not making as much money as I could be making, but what I'm doing is what I'm doing with intention. And it makes sense to me the way that you take each care and where the wool is coming from and the dye. And I love that. I just think that's so important, which leads us to your award. So tell us how you were nominated, who you were up against. Tell us about your experience winning the Sustainability Award.
Well, I think I just have to say about Fashion Group International, like it's such an incredible platform that I think resonates so beautifully with what I do as well. I mean, they're such a historic organization. You know, they've been around for so long, and like you said, it started off with women, and it's women supporting women. Now, obviously, you know, so it includes men, which is wonderful. More people at the table, but I think really like their ethos aligns so wonderfully with mine as well. So I mean, it was quite the honor. There really are no words that can express being recognized for something that is so important to me. It really is our whole entire business and everything that we do, and the whole reason why I even have, you know, a business or decide to make clothing. So sustainability is such a big word, and again, it's wonderful to have the community kind of acknowledge and appreciate that. And I'm just really excited to see what opportunities come from just the connections through FGI, as well as kind of these conversations in the industry, and how we can all come together as a community to really reshape and rethink the way that we do business.
Yeah, it's kind of like smoking. Remember how smoking became so taboo and like nobody smokes anymore? It's kind of like super hip and to be really eco-conscious and know where your clothes came from and know who made them and who sewed them and who dyed them and who put together. That's like a really big trend right now. So you're certainly riding that wave, you know, all the way to the top. Tell me, who do you think, or who is the Mimi Prober customer?
Our customer, I don't think, has an age. Really, they're clients that are conscious with an artistic appreciation, somebody that loves handcrafts and, you know, respects the people, the planet, and the environment. And they're appreciative of, like we said, you know, pieces that they're investing in. They love that process. They love the story. They understand and connect. And I have such wonderful clients that just do and just embrace all of those aspects. I would say, honestly, it's, you know, an individual that's looking for pieces to collect and cherish, and that they're going to build upon and again take over for the next generation. You know, it's not an individual like, you know,
It's not like a wham bam. No, I get it.
my clients really range in age, and just I think that the connection is that they really appreciate where their clothing comes from and appreciate the artistry of that. And I think even you know, when we sell to our retail partners, maybe they're purchasing because they think, you know, this is a really beautiful dress, but at the end of the day, I've had people come back to me and just appreciate those tags, the story, understanding the natural dye process, all of those things. So it's nice to have like a community of appreciation of people that just really connect with the clothing and then find out more about it through that process.
Again, I'm just using me as an example. I collect. I have a piece of yours in my collection now that will never go out of style. I can style it a bunch of different ways. And like you said, I would hand it down the same way I would hand down my Alexander McQueen dress or something like that. That's a piece of fashion history. So I definitely think it's for a more, when I say advanced, I mean somebody who's used to shopping, who enjoys the shopping process and wants to buy something of value, who can understand where it came from and then have it for the rest of their lives. Because it's not, I don't want to say it's classic, but it's not something that you would wear and discard because it's evergreen. It has a life forever because you gave it a new life pretty much.
And, you know, we do a lot of custom pieces as well. So we're always, you know, doing a fitting and individualized pieces based on our collection. I love connecting with clients. It's a wonderful opportunity to just share in that community and understanding and learn more about them. And then also apply that to the clothing that we're creating and how it can all around be meaningful for everybody.
Question for you. How do you cut your patterns? Are you definite like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10? Are you size inclusive? Tell us about your sizing.
So, I mean, it's interesting from a retail standpoint in terms of our retail partners, we produce what they order. But as far as our atelier, which are our custom pieces, we are completely size inclusive. We can make any sizes based on a collection piece. It would just be, you know, a one of a kind where we take your measurements and then we pad out the dress form and then create that into a pattern for the individual.
Do you make the patterns? Or do you have people doing that for you?
I work with my atelier team. I know how to make the patterns, but I am very lucky to have a wonderful pattern maker who I adore, is also a super close friend of mine. And then so I'm capable of it, obviously, going to FIT. I had a wonderful pattern making teacher. But it's great to have, like, again, a community of people that you can work with, that you can trust, and that we can all come together to create these pieces.
What do you think the biggest problem is with women who can't find clothes that fit? Because I work with women all the time who says, my body's weird. I can't find any pants that fit me. I had someone email me yesterday. I'm X size and I'm this tall. This type of jean, it doesn't look good on me. What should I do? Do people come to you with sizing complaints and things like that? What do you think the biggest hole in the market is?
I mean, that's such a deep question. I'm not sure if, like, I'm the best person to answer.
Well, you could try. You could certainly try.
I think just in general, from any brand, you have fit models and, grading different. It's not a, like you said, a wham bam, thank you, ma'am, amongst all designers. So each designer is going to have a different fit model. They're going to have different grading requirements. Again, it goes to, like, the retailer. They're going to have different, sizing orders. If we're talking about, just ready to wear pieces, unfortunately, that's just how it is. I don't know.
And I want you to I think that's so important to say that every person has different patterns, different pattern makings, different grading systems. So it's
people that are making these things behind the scenes.
Yes.
But again, it's not like an automated process. So I guess what I would say, to your listeners or to whoever sent that email is, don't get discouraged. You might need to try on a ton of different brands to find that brand that fits for you, or, find yourself a wonderful tailor locally if you can, and they can do custom fittings for you. I know it's an extra step. It's an unfortunate, but when you are just buying off the rack,
it's hard
finding what works for you.
Yes. It's really hard. And I try, they try on two pair of pants and they leave, right? But when you work with someone like a Mimi Prober, or someone who is going to really curate that piece with you in mind, it's totally worth the experience. It's totally worth it to go to someone like Mimi and say, hey, I have a hard time fitting in X. I would love to see what you can do for me for this or for that. And that's how fashion can really speak to you and be different and make you stand out. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think it's a great, opportunity, again, to be able to be interested in a piece or a style and then be able to customize it to fit you and to work with you. I definitely agree, whether that's, me, or that's, somebody I get, again, locally, modifying some piece that, bought off the rack.
Do you wear only your clothes? What do you wear mostly?
I actually do wear mostly my clothing, which has been the wonderful thing of doing production for retailers. It's like we actually can add in a couple pieces for me, which is nice.
I love that.
Yeah, but I also wear vintage. I love vintage rock shirts.
Right. I talked about that in last week's podcast. We talked about vintage rock t-shirts. I love that. So do you buy it on specific bands that you like or eras? Tell us how you source those.
So again, it's kind of like the same process as me sourcing my antique textiles. I mean, I've been buying them for, oh my goodness, I've worn them since I was like 13.
Do you have a collection?
I do. So I've been buying them for over 20 years at this point. Not to reveal my age, but who cares?
No, please. I mean, I talk about my age all the time. I'm 48.
So yeah, it's something that will always stay in our collection. And I was able to do a few really cool t-shirts, a t-shirt this season based on my dad's music history. That was a really amazing homage. This entire spring collection actually was inspired by him and his work in the music industry. So
that's incredible. What a good daughter you are.
It's an important story that needed to be shared. And I feel very grateful that I was able to put that out into the world. So that's pretty much what I wear.
That's so exciting. So I know you're custom department is different from your ready to wear. Tell us a little bit about your ready to wear line.
Our ready-to-wear collection is primarily we work with using the antique textiles as the inspiration and working with individual artisans to create these custom textiles. So again, it's a lot of hand spinning, hand weaving, hand knits, the knit you were talking about,
Mhm.
as well as botanical dyeing. We do that all over, whether it's our atelier collection or our ready-to-wear collection. All of our pieces, if they are new textiles, they're all organic, they're all custom made. It's not only preserving those history and those special stories of the antique textiles, but again, using them as a way to support the future generations.
Do you consider yourself an artist? Do you paint? Do you sculpt? Do you do anything else on the side?
Before I went to FIT, I studied fine arts. I definitely consider myself a Renaissance woman. I love all things creative and appreciate art history in many forms. I love museums and create art otherwise. And also in textiles, of course, is my number one passion for sure.
Speaking of museums, Miss Mimi, you were included as part of the exhibition at the Met in New York City for the Costume Institute's In America, a Lexicon of Fashion. Can you please elaborate on that?
Yeah, so it's actually still on view until I believe September 5th. So if anybody finds themselves in New York, they can go view this incredible exhibition. So I mean, words can't really describe that. It's something beyond my wildest dreams. I'm so grateful to have been included in it and to be included with the work at the Met Museum, which is just so near and dear to my heart. Not only as a designer, but also somebody who has worked at and loves and appreciates museums.
That's so incredible. What an honor to say that you have had some of your designs in the Met. And anyone who hasn't been to the Met, you can't even get past the bookstore. The bookstore is so insane. Everything that you could possibly be into, art, photography, music, fashion, it doesn't even matter. Byzantine Empire. I mean, it's all there. Books, posters, puzzles, jewelry. It's the most incredible store I've ever seen. And all of everything the Costume Institute puts on is just mind-blowing. It's just mind-blowing. So, I mean, I can't wait. I just renewed my membership to the Met. So excited. I have 2 free guest passes. Anybody who wants to go with me. And I'm going to see your exhibit or your participation in the exhibit. I cannot wait to see it. And congratulations, Mazel Tov to you. What an incredible, incredible boost to your career. Tell us what to expect from you. What's next? What's coming up? What's big? What's brewing?
Obviously, our clothing is based on seasonless philosophy of design. So we continue to create collections and build upon our story in that way. But really, again, the Mimi Prober brand, I think my hope is to really, be able to share our clothing and continue to do that, but to also broaden it into more of a philosophy that we've been working on and educating the community.
So, do you see yourself maybe doing workshops or teaching people the dyeing process? Do you see yourself expanding your line or selling bigger, more pieces? What's your hope?
I've definitely taught workshops, botanical dyeing as well as embroidery. We've done quite a few educational collaborations with FIT, as well as I did a residency last November at Cornell University. I was their designer in residence, so I worked with the students on their collections, and we did gallery exhibition and a keynote. So I'd love to continue to do things like that. It's wonderful to work with the next generation. And I think they're so inspiring as well. So
what an incredible story that you got to be the in-house designer at Cornell. Wow. I mean, you're like the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, that's incredible. What an honor to be selected to do that. I mean, I definitely would think it would be so fun to take a workshop or learn how to do the weaving process or the dyeing, botanical dyeing. I think that would be so interesting. And, kudos to you for finding real purpose in this world and really trying to make a difference one piece of clothing at a time, because that's really what you're doing, to be quite honest with you.
It's labor of love, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Again, I only want to create in a way that really has a purpose, because there is so many other clothing that's already out into the world.
Yeah, but it's consistency. It's telling people your story and why it matters. And not everything in your closet has to be, custom made or hand dyed or sustainable. But the more that you tune into it, in my opinion, I feel like it gets addicting. You sent me two beautiful things. I bought a skirt from you, and I was, looking online. I'm like, what else does she have that I want? It gets addicting, because then your clothes mean something. And then when you wear it, your energy changes.
I think that's a really good point. Energy and meaning, we need to understand that actual people make the clothing, and what that means to the people that are buying it. And maybe it does, inspire them to buy a little differently, or just to understand that there's actual people that that are involved in this creation. And maybe if question, I guess the other thing is really just questioning, if you have a brand that you love, questioning where that clothing came from, how it
Right.
was, because the consumer really is the one that can change the world in the way that they do purchase their pieces.
Do you show at Fashion Week or anything?
I have, yes.
This September, you going to show, or do you know, or is it a secret?
I mean, I'm definitely have been doing some capsule collections. We've done, season pieces for our retail partners. But again, like, I actually kind of love the idea of going against the fashion calendar.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But yes, we've consistently presented our collection either at New York Fashion Week or through Vogue, as well as different platforms that really connect. I think we've done runway shows, and they're amazing, and beautiful. But I do think there's a shift in, at least in the way that I want to present my pieces. So I love intimate presentations and appointments, and just
I hear you. I hear you. It's so fun as a consumer to go to the fashion shows, but it's not for everybody, and it's really expensive. Let's be honest. It's really expensive to put on a production like that. So anywhere you present, we will be front row. We will be cheering for you. We will be wearing your pieces. We'll be supporting you. Tell us what retail partners you have and where we can purchase your items.
Yeah, so I think some of the most local, I mean, they're not in Atlanta, but we have Hampton, who has the current collection, Habits, in Wyoming. Still Studio also is an incredible smaller store in Iowa, who aligns so much with my philosophy. And then our other, retail partners have been Matches and Browns, and can find our clothing in those places. You can reach out to us. We have our atelier. We have, do custom pieces as well, like I mentioned. And If Boutique, also another one of our retail partners. So really, the select collection is available with our retail partners. If Boutique, Hampton Clothing, Habits, Still Studio, Matches, Browns. Those are just a few stockists.
Well, all of these links are going to be in the show notes. So if you're interested in meeting Mimi or talking to her or finding out more about her collections or her retail partners or where she sells, you will certainly be able to do that. She is so lovely and so nice. Tell us where we can find you on social media.
So it's just Mimi Prober. Instagram, our website is mimiprober.com. And yeah, you can find us there.
What an honor it was to speak to you today. I cannot thank you enough for your time, your efforts, your sustainability, your practices, your integrity. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I am thrilled. I definitely, would love to work with you again or see you again. And I'm excited to style your pieces and show you what I can do with them. And I would love, love, love to have you back. Anytime you want to talk about your collection, please let us know. And you are always welcome. Friend of the podcast, Mimi Prober. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Holly, for the kind words. And again, it's such a pleasure to be here and to connect with you and your audience. And I know we will definitely be seeing each other soon.
Oh, for sure. Y'all heard it here first. Mimi Prober, BFD, big fucking deal. Look her up, connect with her, follow her, send her an email, send her snail mail, find out about her clothes. Make what you wear matters. She's putting all this time and effort and energy into the clothing. Y'all, let's support her. She is insanely incredible, so sweet, unbelievable, super nice. Loving her. Thank you so much again for joining. We loved having Mimi Prober. She will definitely be back. This has been the Fashion Crimes Podcast. My name is Holly Cates, your favorite personal stylist, the hostess with the mostest, and as always, the only Holly you need to know. Please sign up for our newsletter. Follow us on social media. Make sure you hit us up. Let us know what you're loving. Give us some feedback, and we really appreciate all of the Fashion Insider besties. Thank you so much again for listening. This has been the Fashion Crimes Podcast, and we are out.